Welcome to the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, where you get multifamily investing made real. Learn from top players in the real estate investment world as they share their secrets with you and discover proven strategies on apartment investing that actually work. To learn more about Wheelbarrow Profits, visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. Now to your hosts, Jake and Gino.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father of six, the best-selling author, on the pool table at his mom's house, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
Mr. Stenziano, air conditioner ain't working here. It's going to be 90 degrees, bro. I'm doing good. How you doing? What's the word today? Blue-collar work ethic. Right?
Gino's taking it away. Now and forever, the term of the day is blue-collar work ethic. We got some swag coming out on that, too, so be on the lookout for that. But this is where we normally plug something to pay the bills. Now for our listeners, we only showcase products and services that we approve are used in our own business. This time we're going to tell you about something of ours, specifically a Wheelbarrow Profits community. G-Dad, take it away.
Mr. Stenziano, we've been really hard at work growing that community. We actually brought on an amazing sales guy, community, I would say organizer, activist, whatever it is. Josh, he's doing
Wow, I guess I'm political now, man. Wow.
Dude, he's bringing the pain. I mean, it's been amazing. He's been amazing setting up goals, helping people out. We're just looking to grow this amazing group. What we're looking for are those who want to follow our proven framework that we've created: buy right, manage right, and finance right. We want to leverage our connections, our education, and mentorship as ways to take your business to the next level.
So guys, you're interested in finding out more about how you can be a part of this amazing community, apply to work with us at jakeandgino.com/apply, and we'll take it from there. So enough shameless plugging. Let's get back to the show. Today's guest is Mark Kenney, who will be at the live event in Nashville this year. Gino, what are the dates?
October 6th and 7th, and Mark was one of the first guys I reached out to. He's going to be one of the sponsors there. I love Mark's, blue-collar work ethic. We had him on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
He grinds a grinder like Mr. Stenziano and myself. I said I want to have him there because I've seen he's got an education platform that he's growing. He's got a great story about syndication. So I said, you know what, I want to have him there, and he graciously accepted. I was shocked. He actually said yes to the G-Dad and Jake, and we're looking forward to having him there.
Looking forward to it, guys, for sure. Super excited about it.
Hey, and he is a multifamily madman like the rest of us, a seasoned real estate investor, founder of Think Multifamily. He's invested in over 1,200 units in the mecca of apartments, Dallas, Texas, right? So, guys, without further ado, Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be here.
So, going back to just the multifamily, what is going on in the Dallas multifamily market right now?
Too much, I think, actually.
Getting a little pricey, huh?
Pricing going up and cap rates going down, so not a good combination. But we actually haven't bought in Dallas in about 18 months, frankly. We're buying outside Dallas and other markets, and I love the Dallas market. It has all the fundamentals, but when rates are over 5% and cap rates are 5%, the math doesn't work for me, generally speaking.
So let me ask you, in San Antonio, 24,000 people moved in last year. Was that one of the biggest cities? Where do you see it going? No one's got a crystal ball, but what do you see happening for prices to actually come back to reality and cap rates to rise?
Yeah, like I said, San Antonio, and I'm in Dallas, like 145,000 people last year net moved here.
Wow.
I think more and more people are looking outside the market, but I think with the fundamentals here and people are looking on the upside, and to me, that's a little more dangerous. I'd much rather focus on cash flow right now, and if I can get the appreciation through the market, great, but I wouldn't be counting on that too much right now. And I know a lot of people are still buying here in Dallas, but if you underwrite the deals, I don't see how they're making them work. They just don't work. Doesn't make sense to me.
Mark, let's go back to your story. How did you get into multifamily, and how did you actually get to where you are right now?
Yeah, so I'm one of seven. I have an identical twin brother. Grew up in Michigan. Definitely blue collar for sure. Kind of worked my butt off growing up as a kid, and bought a lot of things when I was my own bike when I was 10, and clothes and things like that. But that was kind of my driver. I said, well, man, I don't want my kids going through this when they grow up. So when I was 21, I was still in college. I always loved real estate. Nobody really got me into it. It made a lot of sense to me. I have kind of I guess, consider more logical type way I think about things, and people need a place to live. So I made my first offer when I was 21 years old, still in college, on just a duplex. Got accepted, and then my dad talked me out of it. So um, I'm 21, so I'm kind of scared and nervous, and so I'm like, man, I'm disappointed about that. I felt kind of dumb too because I went under contract and backed out. And about a couple months later, I found another place. Didn't tell my dad about it. I closed on it, and then told my dad after I closed on it, and started buying small 2, 3, 4 unit deals, just my brother and myself. A CPA for a while, did IT consulting, continued to buy smaller properties, and then probably about 4.5 years ago, I was doing real well with IT, but I was working 80, 85 hours a week and ignoring my wife, Camille, and, sleeping 3 hours a night and caused a lot of issues. So I said, well, she said probably more than I did, you need to do something different. So I started buying larger multifamily then, and we have actually about 2,700 units now.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Wow. So how do you tell people to start? Because that was one of my things. When I first started out, I told my mom I bought something in Rochester, and she looked at me like, you've got 6 kids to feed. What are you doing? So that just takes the air out of your sails. And this is like person you look up to. She's raised you. She's thinking after you. She's like your, I would say, I don't want to say mentor, but like she's the one who's protecting you. And then you hear your protector telling you that. It's like, really, dude? It's like, that's all I need. So, I mean, how did you overcome that? Obviously by not telling him. I ended up doing that with Jake. We bought I think I had 190 units before I told her I was in Tennessee. So
really?
Yeah, so I'm sitting outside of the restaurant. She would see me at lunchtime every time doing work, and she's like, why are you always working? I said, this is not work. The rest of this crap is work. So I'm sitting outside at the restaurant. I have 190 units after we bought Park Place. And she goes, I heard you're investing in Tennessee. I said, you heard right. I said, why didn't you tell me? I said, because I got 6 mouths to feed. And if you tell me what to do it. And if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So now she wants to come see the properties and all. I'm like, no, you haven't earned that right yet.
Wow. Well, we're going deep. Gino's in New York. We're going deep today.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's true because it really resonated with me. I mean, and the thing is, I try to tell people, get into mastermind groups because I love mastermind groups. Get into people who are like-minded. We have a big private Facebook group community, 500 people in there. Put your successes in there. Put your wins in there. And I hear people talking about mind shift and also people like-minded who you want to speak to. So, I mean, I love it because guys are in there saying, this is what I'm afraid about. And the people in there aren't bashing them. They have the same feeling. So it was interesting. I mean, I love Grant Cardone. He's like, why would you talk to somebody who has no idea about what multifamily is? My mom doesn't know what multifamily is. She's middle class. Why would you take advice from somebody who's in the middle class? And I'm not bashing my mom or probably your dad, but that's what we're doing. We're taking wrong advice from the wrong people. And I wish I'd known that 5 or 6 years ago. I felt terrible. But then I'm like, okay, Mom, in 6 months, I'm leaving the restaurant. She's like, what, huh? And I'm like, awesome. So I didn't mean to go on, but
no, I mean, that's the key right there. My dad's 81. He's never bought a rental property in his life and probably never will now that he's 81. So, listening to the right people, I think, and then getting around people doing what you want to do. And, we have, and don't, the mind shift stuff's probably stuff I kind of ignored for a long, long time because I was like, just go do it. Why do you need someone to tell you what to do or a mentor or anything like that? But I can tell you find the right one. We have people out buying, 100+ unit deals their very first time. 29-year-old retired last year after 6 months from buying 3 deals. And you can go a lot bigger and faster, but it's really surrounding yourself around people. And if you think you can do it on your own, you're most likely going to go really slow and make a lot of mistakes.
I think real estate is the perfect place to, and this is what they don't teach you in school. You're supposed to share. You're supposed to get together with people. You're supposed to build teams. You're supposed to have fun doing it, right? So those are all the things that attracted me to real estate. Mark, did you have that I wouldn't say chip on your shoulder, but were you like, I want to prove my dad wrong? Because I think in the back of my mind, that was one of the things I wanted to do. I wanted to make myself successful and tell my mom that I could build another business without the family and do something different and do something that I like. Because, us blue-collar guys, we're only taught to be hard workers, not be smart. I did a call on this, the trinity of work. Work hard, work smart, and work passionately. I was only working hard at the time, right? Once you start working smart, it really adds fuel to the fire. And then the third level, where the 3 of us are right now, you start working passionately, and that's where you really start enjoying life. And that's where I think true success comes from. So I was really I use that motivation, and I wouldn't say anger, but it was like, I wanted to fuel myself and just do it. Did you feel the same way with
I really didn't with my dad. I mean, my relationship with him was pretty superficial growing up, just because it's kind of the generation. And, this is no joke, I've raised my voice to my dad my entire life.
Dude, you don't want to catch one of these, man. Come on now.
Well, I'm the sixth of seven, so I'm a twin brother, and I saw what happens when you do that. So I learned pretty quickly you don't do that.
He's a smart guy then.
Yeah, and believe me, that works. So, but no, it was more, he was doing it to try to protect me. He really was. But then I really came to the conclusion that it didn't matter whether it was a building or a car or, a pair of shoes, whatever it was. Nothing was ever a good deal. I mean, you could go there and get a half price on a car. My dad would be like, I think you can do better. At a certain point in time, things, make sense to buy them. Mm-hmm. But no, he's kind of, he's like, what are you doing now? I'm like, oh, we're looking at this, whatever, 250 unit year. What, so he's a happy for us. He really is. So it was less of that. And it was really more, my driver really was, when I got older, I didn't want to have kids that had to go through some of the stuff we went through from a financial standpoint. And other people a lot worse than us. Don't have food, don't have a place to live. We had both, but that was it. And you want anything else? You want shoes, clothes, bike, whatever, you buy it yourself. You're 9, 10 years old, you're out working, doing it yourself. And I don't want our kids being spoiled. We make them pay for a lot of stuff, like half. My son has a motorcycle, he had to pay for half of it. But we don't just give them stuff. They need to work for it.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Let's get back to the real estate. Sorry about this little.
I think we're in the real estate right now, because this is where it all comes from, right? It's corny. We talked about blue collar work ethic today, but at the end of the day, I worked as a kid. Gino, I know you worked as a kid. Mark worked as a kid, and it puts that fire in your belly, because it's not going to be handed to you. You got to go out and get it. You got to go take it. And so I think that's where a lot of this success and abundance has probably come from in our lives, because we got out there, we hustled when we were younger, and then carried it through.
That's exactly right.
I like that, Jake. But part of the problem is I was stuck in the work hard, right? My first job was 12 years old.
I'm still stuck in the work hard, but I think I like being there, to be honest with you.
But there's nothing wrong with it. But the problem is, like, at the time, I thought getting things done was like you're doing the right thing. And 30 years ago in the other economy, it was great, right? My dad worked hard and he made a good living because he had a business. But you can work hard today and not get anywhere. That's the problem. You have to leverage a lot more this time. And working in your business and working on your business was like revolutionary to me. I'm like, wow. And the part of the problem is that I would always equate time with money. So if I'm out and I'm networking with a broker, I'm not getting paid, right, for that broker. But if I'm getting $30 an hour, I'm getting paid. So that's what I think real estate entrepreneurs have to really decipher. Put in the effort. You're not going to get paid today. You're going to have to get paid up 6 months or a year or 2 years from now. And I think multifamily is the same exact way. You might buy a deal. It might not go negative for 6 months, or you might have to put money back into it. So that's where it came from.
Yeah, you need to be patient. Mm-hmm. Patient, get deals. Patience once you have deals, for sure, without a doubt.
So I got to jump in here real quick, Mark, because I've been, working with Gino for it's coming up on 10 years. It's got to be, because I think we started maybe 8, 9. I don't know what the heck it is, but I'm going to tell you right now, little monthly vacations like this. The G-Dad is in New York. I can tell he's refreshed. His mind is in a different place. He's bringing the pain today. So guys, tip of the day. Get a little weekend break every month. Get out there and go do something, because it does recharge the batteries. Because I'm seeing it with my boy right here. So, bringing it, G Papa.
No, but it's not. You know what? We worked yesterday. No, but we still worked yesterday. We had Memorial Day.
It's a change of scenery. It's a little bit of freshness. It's good. I like it.
I agree with you. And I just love Mark's story because it's so similar to mine. I didn't want to bash my mom. I don't want to come off as bash my mom, but I want people to really think about their why. I really want people to think about. I want everyone to challenge their beliefs and their thoughts. Money does grow on trees in this economy. If you know how to plant the right tree, it does grow on trees. Money, you do not need money to make money, because I want to get into Mark's strategy. I thought we needed that. The other thing that killed me, Mark, was my mom would always say, small business, let's stay small. So I only had one restaurant, and that really bothered me, right? How do I have 1,000 multifamily units coming up on in 5 years when I couldn't only own one restaurant for 20 years? So that was somebody holding me back, and that was myself holding me back. So let's jump into you. When was your first syndication? When did you get your first big deal? How did you find it? What did you, what made you excited about it? What made you want to throw up about it? Let's go and dive into that.
It was a few years ago. It was a 64 unit deal in Dallas area.
Mm-hmm.
232 units, mid 80s construction. So it was, for us, a nicer property at the time. But I was pretty scared about it because, I wouldn't even ask my dad for money. So to try to go ask other people for money was a big deal for me.
Mm.
So the part that concerned me the most was raising the capital. I liked the property. So there weren't a lot of negative things about it. Looking back at it, I look at it and say, well, we should have raised a little more capital on it because we had some working capital, but I mean, there's always having a little extras. It doesn't hurt you at all.
Mm-hmm.
It gives that stress level. So there's more things we want to do to the property. We're actually probably going to be selling that property. It's gone up a lot in value. But we found it through a broker. 32 of the 64 were listed. The other 32 were not listed. They weren't planning on selling it, but it was the same seller. They're literally right next door to each other. So we ended up going on a contract for both. We bought them 2 separate loans and things like that, and 2 separate LLCs to keep the liability separate and things like that if we wanted to sell one. But it was just a nice, clean asset. Frankly, it was just outdated. And it was a really busy, heavy trafficked area, which I love, close to schools. And it was built originally, one of them was built as condos, so it was a little bit nicer. And that was a lesson learned too. When we, 2 weeks before closing, they said, oh, well, there's an HOA on this. We're like, no, there's not. And they're like, well, it was recorded in 1985, along with 7 other properties that never were built. So we ran into some problems for that, delayed closing a few weeks. And they, confirmed that there really was no HOA, but they are separately deeded for that property. But pretty clean overall. I mean, for a first deal, things went pretty smooth. We did learn also that you want to walk the units at a couple days before closing because there were about 5 extra units that were vacant that we weren't informed about. And they're like, well, and we saw like eviction things from 2 weeks before we closed, so they knew obviously that they were vacant. Mm-hmm. Now our contract, we have verbiage that says for any vacant units that aren't ready by the time they close, we get a credit. So they have to pay us a credit back for that.
Great
and we
tip.
take advantage of that, so that's good.
Yeah, I like that. Do you have any tips for people on raising money for their first deal? I mean, how did you do on your first deal? If you have that mental and that block, limiting belief that you can't even ask your dad, person who loves you and who trusts you, what are your tips?
Yeah, I think one is not look at it that you're asking people for money. Really, you're actually providing a potential opportunity that may or may not fit for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say don't try to force a deal. I mean, I tell people on a pretty regular basis that maybe this isn't a deal for them, but understanding investor goals first, and also being active. So if I'm new to multifamily, the very first time I interact with you, say, hey, I want money, on a deal versus, hey, Jake and Gino, I'm sending things out or posting on Facebook. I looked at a deal today. Oh, 10 deals later, I finally find one. Then you're like, well, this guy, Mark, actually, he's active. This isn't the first deal he looked at. Mm-hmm. But number one, frankly, is to have somebody else you can use their track record. I had a partner on my first deal. He had more experience than I did on larger deals. And people underestimate that, but I can guarantee you that's your easiest way to getting deals is to leverage somebody else's track record. You get something up for that, but you get your first deal.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the second deal. How fast was that your second deal after your second big deal after this one?
Probably just maybe 4 or 5 months, I'm guessing. I don't remember exactly timing wise. A 208 unit deal.
Wow. Let's talk about that.
It's a big.
Yeah. And that was a very interesting deal. We're actually doing a supplemental loan on that, pulling quite a bit of cash out of that, which is nice. But it was, it's in South Dallas, so it's not as great of a location. So, that's the other thing you have to consider. And it also has a chiller. So, central for cooling and heating. And it actually went out last summer for about 3 weeks in July and August in Dallas, which is just a joy. Cities on your back and everything else, right? Mm-hmm. But the property's gone up, significantly. It's close to double per door what we paid for it. We haven't put much money into it.
Wow.
But that was a $2.8 million raise on that one. But it was numbers just worked really well on. It was 78% occupied when we toured it. And then by the time we got to closing, it was in the low 90s. So income went from like 118 a month to 138 before while we're under contract. So put an NOI cap rate on that. We're just sitting there. He basically did our plan while he was there. But we ran into some challenges because of the demographics and location and things like that. So you have to be aware that if you buy in a location like that, it's not horrible, but definitely more things will happen there, and you have to be able to handle that. Things happen.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you about the chiller. Do you have any advice or any tips on when you buy a property with a chiller? Maybe not buy the property, but if it's a great deal like that, you obviously have to tackle that.
Yeah, I would just say have more working capital set aside, which is kind of what we have, because it's not just a chiller too; it's also the piping.
Mm-hmm.
You could spend several $100,000 on piping.
Are you going to stick with it for the long term? Is that the plan, or what's the plan with the chiller long term?
Yeah, we're gonna leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we put like $45K into it last year, and it's fine. Hasn't been giving us problems right now, but I would say I probably wouldn't buy another one with a chiller unless, like you mentioned, Gino, it's just a killer deal. But converting from chiller to individually metered is thousands and thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make sense for us to do that. So that's a physical condition of it, but it's still good financially. I would shy away from it personally myself, just because of experience.
Mm-hmm. How did you find the deal? Was it another off market deal with broker? Or?
That one was off market. It was a seller that he bought it from the bank originally at 40% occupancy. He brought it to the mid to upper 80 or 70s while we went under contract, and he left a lot of money on the table. He made money, and that's fine with me. Good for him. He did a good job. He bought it at 40%. But it was an off-market deal. We looked at the property, and I think probably either the following day we put an offer on it. So we didn't wait around. Ran numbers on it ahead of time, adjusted numbers after we toured it, and immediately put an offer in. So don't wait around if you actually have a deal. You need to know what a good deal is and be able to act on it quickly.
Mm-hmm. So you're not in Dallas right now. What do you look for in a market, or what other markets are you in right now? What excites you about a market?
Yeah, for me, it's really more cash flow, frankly. So we're buying a lot in Atlanta, 900 units there, and I think Atlanta has the appreciation, but also has good cash flow. And there are two main differences in my mind between Dallas and Atlanta. One is a lot of people self-manage still, even though it's 200-300 unit deals, which is
in Atlanta, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the interiors on a lot of those properties haven't been done, so you're going to see a lot of the carpet and gold fixtures and no backsplashes and things like that. So you can go in and dump $3,000 to $5,000 interior wise and really bump the rents that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other market we're in heavily is Memphis. People are like, oh, Memphis, I'm like, well, the cash flow is really good there. The appreciation is not going to be there, but we actually have two properties there that we bought under the pilot program. They have a pilot program in Memphis where you dump capital into the property, and your property taxes get cut in half and frozen for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So one of your biggest line items on your expenses is cut in half.
Mm-hmm.
So we bought a 321 unit deal. We did that, and we bought a 168 unit deal and did that. So the cash flow is just phenomenal there. So that's
where are you guys buying in Memphis? What part of the city are you buying in Memphis? Because
we bought different places. One, Cooper Young.
Mm-hmm.
For what Cooper Young is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one area. I like that area. It's kind of up and coming too. I think you have to be really careful in Memphis where you buy. There's a lot of sketchy areas, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But we have great relationships there with property management company, and literally if we ask him about any property, he would be like, do not even consider this property. He will. He doesn't hold anything back. Or he'll say, hey, this is actually something you need to look at further. So having that relationship there will save us, hundreds of hours potentially of work.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells us straight up exactly, even if he thinks he can make money by managing the property, he'll say, don't even consider it. So
that's self-serving, because he doesn't want to have a property where he's going to put, even if he makes money on it, he's going to be there every day evicting
That's right.
people and having to do some type of construction there. So it's actually pretty smart on his angle. How did you meet him? How did you make that relationship with him?
We got his name through a lender, actually. So lots of times you can find, brokers will give you contacts for property management companies, which is great. But this one came from a lender, to me, which even holds a little bit more weight, because lenders have more invested in the deal than anybody. Just a fact, right?
Good
So
point.
a lender's sitting there, so his name will come up every time you talk to anybody in Memphis area about deals. This guy's name comes up over and over again. But the lender originally who's told us about it, we had a big value add deal, and the lender said, well, I won't even consider this deal unless this guy's actually running the property management.
Wow, that's awesome. And how are you finding the deals in Atlanta? Are they off-market deals? Are they from brokers? What's the best way to find deals in Atlanta?
Both. Yeah, both. We have a couple were direct to the seller, just through relationships. We heard, from different people we know there. But a lot of them are listed, end of the day. I think there's this notion people are like, well, I'm just going to go call all these people and go buy a 100-unit building and things like that, direct to the seller. It's just tougher. And it doesn't mean you're going to get a good deal anyways. And you spend all that time building a relationship with, an individual seller, where you can build a relationship with a broker and they have more access and more inventory. Nothing wrong with either way, but don't do just one or the other, I guess, because you're going to spend a lot of time.
I like that.
What about the expenses in Atlanta? Because we're just in the East Tennessee market. We've looked at some deals in Atlanta, and the price per unit may have been in the 40s, but the income
$1,000 more a month, $1,000 more a month.
That's exactly So what do you like? What are you seeing most, like $5,500 a month there?
No, less than that. Depending on the
5,000?
property. We have some properties too that are a little bit smaller units.
Yeah.
But you're going to be in the mid fours, maybe 43 to 4,500.
Okay. Yeah.
We're in Memphis. We're going to be 3,300 a month.
Yeah. So that's what I was getting at. You're probably much cheaper in Memphis, and I was kind of inquiring about that because we did a budget for one, and it was just, I don't know if it was the taxes or the utilities, but it was just much higher than what we're used to. So I was just trying to gauge that. But you think you can pin down like on a C, B minus, C plus, like a 4,500 a month in
Oh yeah. But it's a good point you bring up too, Jake, because utilities will vary drastically in Atlanta. I mean,
what part of the city are you in?
Well, we're in different ones. We're like in Jonesboro, Riverdale. We're in College Park, which is a rougher area for sure. Gainesville, you probably never even heard of it.
That sounds scarier than College Park.
What's that?
Gangville sounds scarier than College Park. I just messed with you.
Oh, yeah. No, it's actually a phenomenal location. It really is. It's northeast of the city.
Yeah, I like that northeast area over there. I think
it's a really cool kind of quaint town. You can walk within a mile to all the shops and things like that. So it's a cool area.
Nice.
That's great. Let me ask you, Mark, how do you structure your syndications? What are the splits and fees and all that? Yeah.
So we've done, typically what we were doing was a 80-20 split with no pref. That's what we've been doing a lot of. But a 2% acquisition fee one time, 1.5% asset management fee, and then no disposition fee and no refi fee. Recently we've been getting a lot of investors that are used to pref. So we've done 2 deals recently that have a pref, which, obviously for the syndicator isn't as good, but gives the investor the comfort level. So it's,
did you have to do it?
Well, one of the deals we did a 506C, which means we can generally advertise for the deal. You're allowed to do that. And I would say probably 80% of the people we got through that funnel said, well, if you're not doing a pref, I'm not gonna invest.
And did you need them to get it done?
Somewhat. We have literally, we'll be closing on, within a 6-month period, we'll be closing on probably 9 deals.
Wow. So you need that money.
We need some other avenues. So, but yeah, and it gave us an option to then be able to have those into our investor pool and things like that for future deals. And some of the deals definitely make sense. But as kind of mentioned, the syndicator is not as good, but you can usually take a bigger split. It's not uncommon to take a 70-30 split with 8% pref.
Yeah.
Is that what you would recommend to people first starting on their first syndication? What would you say? What is the ideal looking deal? Because people are always like, I don't want to give anything up, but at the same time, out of credibility, what is the ideal for the person starting out?
For splits?
Yeah.
You might go a little bit lower. So I mean, if you did like maybe 15 to the syndicator, that probably would get more people interested and just say, hey, I am newer to this, so taking less. I think you really need to understand your investor pool. Because also if you do like 506C where you can generally advertise, it's only for accredited only, which limits the number of people you then have access to. So people starting out, you need to be careful. Don't just think you're going to advertise and have all the people come in. But I think, understanding the investor pool and the type of deal that it is, you're going to have to potentially adjust. I hear people say, well, there's only one way to do splits. And it's like, well, you're buying a business. So each deal is unique and could be structured uniquely. So I know a couple big groups that just do, there's one way to do it and that's it. And I don't believe that. I think there are different ways to structure it.
How'd you do your first one? What's your first one look like?
We did 80-20 split. We did 2% acquisition fee and 1.5% asset management fee. No pref.
That's great. And how have you been able to build your teams? I mean, your systems over the last 5 years since you exploded to 27.
Yeah, I mean, we have some events that we do, meetups. We go to different group. We're going to your event. If you're going to be doing it, don't think you can sit back and just it's going to happen. You need to be active out there, and you'll find out it's actually a pretty small world once you're actually out there and meeting people. But it's just being active, being on social media. People are like, oh, I don't want to do social media. It's like, well, I mean, it works.
So you're saying you don't want to do marketing, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, well, I mean, if that's okay, if you don't want to do it, then go find somebody else that will. And it's the same thing we really stress in our group that there's something you're really good at, whatever it might be. Maybe you're good at running numbers. Maybe you're good at raising capital. You don't have to be the guy that finds a deal and raises the money and does, the net worth and everything. A guy last year that we helped on multiple deals, he didn't have the capital, but he found deals and he's really good at analyzing deals. So he was valuable, to us.
Mm-hmm.
He did 4 deals last year, actually. So I think really understanding what you're good at. If you can understand the broad spectrum of everything, it's great. But then becoming kind of a specialist in a certain area, people will be attracted to you. We have another guy in a group that got really good at analyzing deals. He got in 2 big deals just because he was local in Dallas and he got good at analyzing deals. And the guy that was buying was from California. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So let me ask you, before we get into this short answer question, what would be your best real estate investing tip or syndication tip for the listeners?
I would say just hook up with people that are already doing exactly what you want to do. And I would say not only from what they're doing, but also the way they treat people, the way they act. There is something to be said to be hanging around people that treat people the same way you want to be treated. And if your partner treats people badly for whatever reason, and they say, well, that's just the way it is. Well, you know what? You can find a partner that has the same mindset as you in the way they treat people.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
What's the minimum that you're letting guys come in for? 50, 100? What's your guys'
50
cutoff?
to 100, depending on the raise. Yeah.
You can go above 100 if you'd like, though. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If anyone puts more than 25% of the total into the deal, then the lender will want to underwrite them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something earlier that really caught my interest, and I love diving into this stuff because it's I do a lot of it on the day to day. You're talking backsplashes. You're talking $3,000 to $5,000 a unit when you're doing value adds. What are some of your favorite value adds? You're talking you don't like brass, and I guess you're doing like brushed nickel or something. What are some of the what is the style for Mark Kenney? What are you guys running with right now?
Yeah, definitely get rid of carpet if you can. I don't like carpet, just, too many bed bugs, everything else, right? Just a lot of bad things with it. But flooring, two-tone paint, nickel fixtures, backsplash, resurfacing countertops, and I'd say appliances are the least bang for the buck. So if they're working,
keep them cooking. Yeah.
And you can do other options. You can actually get, depending on the property and the class, you can buy used for, half price that are a couple years old.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another option for appliances. But flooring's huge for me.
What about, some guys are doing like trash valet. Some guys are putting, little fences on the garden downstairs units and charging $75 a month extra. Do you have any kind of, sweet spot or play that you like to run with that's been effective for you guys besides just your flooring and your basics?
Yeah. Valet only works if the demographics support it. So we only have one property right now. We're doing valet. We have enclosed some patio areas, and you get $50 to $75, which seems bizarre to me, but you'll get it.
Yeah.
Get the privacy. Reserve parking. We have some properties where we're like, people are like, there's no way you get reserve parking there. We get, $25 a month, not even covered for reserve parking.
That's your spot.
Crazy, and we've done some other things, like we've added units. So for example, we have a property in Atlanta we're closing on here shortly, and it has a 2-bedroom office. It's 114 doors. We're going to make it into efficiency and an office. We did that another property here in Dallas, and you're like, oh, it doesn't sound like that much, but $550 a month, analyze that out and do a cap rate on that. It's not that much to do the conversion. We have another property we're going to probably be adding about, they have these breezeways, sounds kind of strange, where they've added some efficiencies, and they can't keep them rented. They only have like 4 of them. We're looking at doing 8 more of those. So you get.
Was it a laundry room at the end of the breezeway? Is that what it was? And they put an efficiency into it, or
laundry room? You said? No.
So was it a laundry room in the breezeway, and they turned it into efficiencies? Is that
they just these breezeways? We used to walk through this like a 2-story building.
Yeah.
And they enclosed those.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So kind of interesting. They were just open before.
Wow, that is interesting.
So we can probably add 8 there. If they have, this property has 2 big clubhouses, we'll add 2 or 3 units in one of the clubhouses. And we have another property has a 5,000 square foot leasing office. I mean, come on, you don't need that. But make sure you need to do other things. You make sure you get city approval, and parking can be an issue if you start just adding. We have a property has 3 bedrooms. We're making those into a 2-bedroom and an efficiency. You start doing the math on that. It's huge.
Well, these big old leasing offices, it used to be that, you're going to come have the birthday and the pizza party here.
Right.
We had one. It was just this huge space, and they had the leasing office off to the left, and people couldn't even sit in it. It was so small. And
right.
Big, like, indoor. Remember the old Pizza Huts where they had the roofs inside the building?
Yeah.
We had one of those. So we had to demo the roof. We redid the whole thing. It was beautiful. But now people come in, and they're like, wow, this is a modern, professional office space where before it was the Pizza Hut, from the 70s.
Right. Yeah.
So it's that I think a lot of great tips. I think you're really maximizing your space, and that sounds like you're doing some really good stuff.
And I would say one other comment too. Also, your lender. You need to make sure your lender is aware of it, because they have a choice what you can and can't do as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good tip there. What would you have done differently starting out to kind of fast forward?
Yeah, when I started out small. I would have actually got a partner already doing larger properties. There's no reason you can't start with 100 units your very first deal. There's not, if you have the right guy helping you.
Yeah.
So I would have started bigger without a doubt.
What project are you excited about right now?
We started our educational group like you guys have. I think I'm just super excited about people actually getting deals, not just learning, but actually taking action and getting deals. It's unbelievable how much satisfaction or significance, if you want to say, it gives you to see people actually take an action and can potentially change their life for them and their family and everyone else. So that's more for me than anything else.
I don't remember who was on the show, but a few weeks ago, someone said, you're not a real estate investor until you've done your first deal. And I thought that was so awesome, because there's so many guys out there that are like, they're analyzing, they're doing it, but you got to get that first deal done. And I think the lights go off and things take off when you get that first deal done. So
it does, for sure.
Yeah. What about any books that you've read recently? Anything that I'm loving the Ray Dalio book right now. I'm actually going through it for the second time. Anything that you've picked up recently that you want to recommend?
So I'm more of a researcher, frankly. Yeah. I don't really necessarily read books from front to back. I just kind of get bored or easily distracted, I guess. But I research a lot of topics.
Yeah.
So I'll pick a topic and just research everything I possibly can about it, and then talk to experts, and so then I become the expert. Just real side interesting thing. I don't know if you heard of QRP before. I don't want to go into all the details, but instead of a self-directed IRA or sole 401k, you can do a QRP, qualified retirement plan. There's some really cool things you can do around that. So now I'm telling everyone, hey, you need to go talk to Damian Lupo about that, because he's the guy for QRP.
So what is it? So I'm not familiar with QRP. Break it down in layman terms.
It's checkbook control. So you get to invest what you want, on your own. You can borrow $50,000 against it. You can put up to $55,000 a year into it. The fees are basically zero.
So what's the benefit? Is it tax deferred? Is it?
It is. Yeah, tax deferred.
Yeah.
And well, in some cases, even and I want to, Damien would be more qualified to answer, but in a lot of cases, you can even do a Roth, even though you make above the dollar threshold, still do a Roth. You pay your taxes now, but defer it in the future.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I like that.
So he's definitely someone people should probably reach out to, just because it's something I didn't know till March of this year, and I'm like, how did I not know this?
Yeah, I never heard of it till now.
Yeah, infinite banking. I'm like, studying a lot of infinite banking. I actually do that as well. So just concepts that I'm like, that in my opinion can help investors, but also help syndicators go to people and say, maybe you actually do have some money you didn't even know you had.
Yeah.
And here's a way you can do it. So
I love that. That's qualifying the prospect, and I think people don't do that. And the reason why you've never heard of it before is because the stock market, they don't want people to put their money there. And it's funny because we did a QRP about a year and a half ago, and I discounted it. We did a podcast with Damien, and I never really thought about it until now because we haven't been able to syndicate. We haven't had to syndicate. So I don't want people to be confused that if they're multifamily guys that they're going to put their money into it, but actually go out and raise money from people. Use that as the vehicle, because the people who want to do multifamily but can't do it, at least they can access someone like Mark or ourselves to do it for them and get a nice return on it. So
that's right.
That's a great tip.
That's cool.
That's an awesome tip. That's really good.
Besides coming up to you and shaking your hand at the Nashville event that we're having because you're going to be there, what's the second best way for people to get a hold of you?
Email is Mark, MARK, at thinkmultifamily.com. So Mark at thinkmultifamily.com. That's the best way. I'm more than happy to talk to people and figure out where they're at, where they want to go, and try to help them achieve their goals.
G-Dad, what else you got?
I'm looking forward to meeting Mark in person, shaking his hand. I think anybody who has aspirations to syndicate or to scale or to say they don't have money should be out there just to meet him and to talk to him. He's very accessible. I mean, I emailed him, one of the very few syndicators who get right back to me. So that was really cool. I connected right away. He's a make it happen kind of guy, Mr. Stenziano. He's going to get a blue collar work ethic shirt. He's going to be one of the first guys wearing that.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
And I'm just glad that it's funny that, I hope your dad's doing good. I hope he listens to this and says, my son's success. My mom just walked by me right now. My mom.
Oh man, Gino's about to catch a smack.
Yeah. I haven't got one of those in a while, Jake. It's been like, I think my 15th birthday was like the last smack I got, bro.
For the back.
I had to listen to my mom the other day. My son wanted to do a backflip on a scooter on the concrete. Backflips into these, on the scooters and into a foam pit. And he was at the park, and I actually brought something to kind of help protect them. I'm on the phone with my mom, and she's like, I'm here with Ty. You can do a backflip. She's like, what? Why would he do that? She's like, and I said, well, I told him not to because he just shrugged his shoulders at you, my mom, right? She's like, put him on the phone.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Shut that down, huh?
Well, Jake, what's funny, Jake? Now I look at my kids the wrong way, and my mom yells at me. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, Mom, you never even gave me that chance. You just took the spoon out, and the spoon's out without even me. Now I look at my kids the wrong way. So you get older, you're softer, bro. You know what I'm saying? So make it happen when you're younger. So you have the energy and you have the passion. Because when you get older, man, I don't know what happened to my mom, bro. It's like, really? Anyway, we can go on for this for like another hour.
Funny.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad Mark was on today to share his story. And like I said, everybody, don't make the excuses, because Mark didn't make the excuse. Jake didn't make the excuse. And I was making it for a while until I said to myself, enough is enough. Let's get the responsibility out there. Let's figure out our whys. What's the why of why we're doing this? And if you figure out the why, the how will come to you. So, and the other point, Jake, that Mark talks about with his mentorship and getting somebody. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, and I think that's hogwash, but that's how Jake and I met. Jake actually came out and said to me, hey, you're doing it. Let's get together. We got together. We put our few nickels together, and those few nickels have turned into a lot of money. So it's gonna happen to me and Jake. Mark's done the same process. So let's not reinvent the wheel here. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just follow what someone else is doing and get together and just make it happen.
Yeah, it's an investment, right? Not a cost.
That's right. I agree. So, Mr. Stenziano,
that's
I'll
it. Appreciate you guys' time.
Yeah.
All right.
See you next week.
Thanks, guys. Looking forward to seeing you here in the fall.
Thanks,
Mark.
Take care, guys.
We trust that you enjoyed the Wheelbarrow Profits podcast. Visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. See you next time when Jake and Gino share more of their investing secrets with you.